Shave Basuka.
Amen.
Delicious.
It's either gonna be a video of the Yomi or Jeremy's meals.
Back of Jeremy's head.
No, it's definitely.
All right. All right. You're shielded. You're shielded. Eat, enjoy.
Since I just ate dinner, right?
What happens in Daf Yomi stays in Daf Yomi.
Like rye.
I think the Gemara is going to be like coming.
You know those things that you see years later.
I think we'll be done this before Pesach.
Where that thing comes from, especially with
All
this.
right. All right. Incredible. Beautiful, beautiful.
Dr. Gavan, I can always tell I've learned this safer because there's coffee stains on the bottom where they've actually spilled. Let go, I learned this one.
That is a badge of honor.
If it like made it crack when you opened it.
Crack, yeah.
My
But I have one with the coffee
anything,
stains.
right? Do I
And that's
do I
my
hit
old
anything?
cover Jacob
OBS?
Davis. I'm like, remember when we learned this? This is the coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee
Zoom's
sandwich.
on.
You probably-
Yeah, Yoni Frager.
Perfect. Oh, great.
All right, I will say. A good night, a piska tova, good kvittel. It is a schus Baruch Hashem to be here together in the sukkah. So first of all, Chavra, just please make sure the spread tonight is sponsored by Aviva and I in honor of the beautiful Yom Tiv that we've had together and the schus Emir Hashem that tonight on Hoshana Rabbah, all of us should be sealed together with our families for a beautiful year of bracha, of hatzlacha, and geula for all of Klal Yisrael.
Amen.
And please make sure when you see Tzvi Friedman, when he comes out, Tzvi has actually 2 shifts tonight. This is the first shift, and then Emir Hashem, the second serving will be at 8:30 at Chassidish here tonight. And Tzvi has two. What's the word?
He doubled everything.
He doubled everything. He doubled everything. So again, Emir Hashem, enjoy. There's more to come in Emir Hashem again by Chassidish here. But really, Tzvi does all of this, and it's a labor of love, and he does it every week for us. And tremendous hashikach. We also thank our sponsor for today's shir, Lou Goldberg, in honor of the yahrzeit of his grandmother Chaya Rivka Bas Yehuda. His yahrzeit is on Hoshana Rabbah from the Sham Shtav and Aliyah and the family in Nechama. Lou, thank you very much. Shkaich, and thank you for the sponsorship. All right, with that, let us begin. So we have a lot to do today. Baruch Hashem. Really, it's such an incredible zechus to be able to, Zev, you know? Wow, right?
Camera ready there?
It's really dinner. I'm just going to do some background daf yomi. So as you're eating a little learning entertainment. So let's begin. So today's daf is Nun Dalid. Today's daf is 54. We are picking up Emir Hashem on the bottom of Nun Gimel Amud Beis 53b.
Which is also today's daf.
I'm sorry, which is also today's daf. Correct. So we are picking up. Thank you for reminding me about that. Good. So we are picking up Ba'imine, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 lines up from the bottom. So if you remember again, just to reorient ourselves a little bit, we are discussing here the fundamental machlokas between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda about what happens if you go ahead, a man uses. Actually, it's the double machlokas. First part of the machlokas is what happens if a person uses meiser sheni. Don't. Person uses meiser sheni. Baruch Hashem to go ahead and. Also, just one other announcement. Some of you have asked where the knives are. So if you're asking where the knives are, you clearly don't come to Chassidus every week. B'shita, we don't have knives. Everything in life has to have a little bit of amelus, right? Because how amal you're willing to be for something, that determines mamash how you get. So again, if you're hungry enough, you're going to figure it out without a knife. Also, where's Evie Daniel?
That's why there's stuffed cabbage.
And no 2 forks. You can't use 2 forks. There's no hack. There's no hack like that. I caught him last week in the Amish. All right, let's begin. So remember again, we had a machlokes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir about the halacha concerning the use of meiser sheni, as well as the use of hekdish for Kiddushin. So remember again, now actually, the Gemara quoted the section of the Mishnah dealing with hekdish. So remember again, behekdish, we said bemezid kiddush. Rabbi Meir's shita is, if you use hekdish intentionally, ultimately again you affect Kiddushin. B'shogeg lo kiddush. If you did it accidentally, there's no Kiddushin. That's Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says just the opposite. B'shogeg kiddush, if you used hekdish, b'shogeg. Sorry, my bad. Okay. So Rabbi Yehuda says, thank you. Rabbi Yehuda says just the opposite. And Rabbi Yehuda says that halacha l'maisa, if you use hektish b'shogeg, it affects kiddushin, amazing it doesn't. So remember again. So then the Gemara introduced the idea. Well, let's go back. Let's go. So it says, so here's the interesting shaila. What happens if you used ma'os hekdish to go ahead and purchase something? So now the question is, do the coins, does the money become deconsecrated ultimately again by using it for a purchase? That's the shaila. If you take a look at Rashi, Rashi says over here, b'mecher mai, lokach hachefetz b'ma'os hektish b'shogeg l'remer kana lo kana. If you go ahead, and according to Remeir, if you use the hektish money accidentally b'shogeg, so halacha l'maisa, are you kona the object or not? That's the shaila. So Amrlei, af b'mecher lo kana. So he answered no, because let's remember again, according to Remeir, Rabbi Meir holds that halacha l'maisa, if you use hektish b'shogeg, it's not deconsecrated, right? It's not deconsecrated. So therefore, again, according to Remeir, if you accidentally used hektish money to try to purchase something, it would not affect the purchase. The Gemara asks, Eisvei, Akasha, Chenvini Kabbalah Bais Remeir. So we'll say, this is fascinating. A chenvini is a shopkeeper. A shopkeeper, the Gemara says, has the status of a balabais. Now, what does that mean practically? Take a quick look at Rashi. Rashi says, chenvini kabalabais. Rashi says, Mishnahi b'me'ila gizbar hamafkid ma'os eitzel shulchani. So we'll say, listen to this. If you have a gizbar, so who's the gizbar? Gizbar is the temple treasurer. So if the temple treasurer goes ahead and deposits money by a shulchani is a money changer. So okay, Rabbi says, here's the case. A gizbar, temple treasurer, has temple funds. He deposits them with a money changer. So what happens? Imtsrun lo yishtamish. So Rabbi says, so now remember, what does a money changer do? What does a money changer do? Changes money, right? Which means he handles money. So if you give a shulchani money, he's going to use it. So in this case, the Gemara says is as follows. So now the shulchani gets money from the gizbar. Now, if your shulchani get money from the gizbar, what's going through your mind? What's going through your mind? Is this hektish money or not? That's what's happening over here. So the Gemara says, watch this. Look at Rashi. I'm sorry. Imtrun lo yishtamish. So if the money is bundled, then the shulchani should not use it because the fact that it's bundled will seem to indicate that it's kodesh. Therefore, again, if the gizbar does use it, if the shulchani does use it, that'll be considered mi'ilah. However, what if the money is loose? Then yishtamish bahem. That means that the gizbar can use the money, right? Why? Because since the money ultimately again is loose, therefore halacha l'maisa, that indicates that it's not hektish. Shabbos says it's actually very interesting. So apparently, when taking money from a gizbar, everything depends on how the money was handed over to the shulchani. If it's bundled, right? If it's stacked and bundled, then halacha l'maisa, you have to assume that it's kodesh, can't use it. If it's not stacked, if it's loose, then halacha l'maisa, ultimately again, you can use it. Now what's the nafkamina? If a shulchani uses stacked money or bundled money, then he has committed mi'ilah. If he uses unbundled money, then it's the gizbar who's committed mi'ilah. But remember again, a little bit of chazara. Mi'ilah is one of the only areas in halacha where what? Where we say, shlucho shel adam kimoso, even l'dvar avera. Even the dvar avera. Lefichach im hotzim ma'al gizbar d'reshusei avid. The made the other the shulchan tzarach lamos tadra aval balabais. Well, say so now. What about a balabais? Stam. A gizbar gives money to a balabas. Says balabas, I'm giving you this money. So benkach lo yishtam mishman. We'll say a balabas can't use money that's deposited with him, because if you deposit money with a balabas, bepashas, what are you doing? You're telling him to what? Watch it for you, not to use it. And a balabas doesn't usually have an ongoing need, ultimately again for readily available cash. Therefore, we'll say in all cases, if you go ahead and you give money to the balabayis and he uses it, it is the balabayis who has committed mi'ilah. Velo a gizbar shefkido. Fine. So let's go back to the Gemara. Say Gemara is the kasha chenvini kabalabais. A shopkeeper is like a balabais. Now, what does it mean? A shopkeeper is like a balabais. That just like halacha l'maisa, balabais has no right to use any money, and if he does so, ultimately again he's the one who committed mi'ilah. So too, if you deposit money with a shopkeeper, the gizbar deposits money with the shopkeeper is not permitted to use the money, and if he does so, it's Me'ilah. Div Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Huda says, Chenveni kishulchani. Rabbi Huda says, no, not true. A chenveni, a shopkeeper, has the same status as a money changer. Sa'ad kan lo kamifligi ela demar sarah chenveni kishulchani umar sarah chenveni kabalabayis. So we'll say, up until this point, the only machlokes is status of chenveni. Status of chenveni. Is a chenveni like a shulchani? Is a shopkeeper ultimately, again, going to be like a money changer, or ultimately again is a shopkeeper like a balabas? Aval dekuli alma im hotzi mal. Rabbi say, what do you see from here? Halacha lemaisa. If everyone agrees that if the money was used, me'ilah was committed. So Rabbi say, what do you see from here? You see from here that halacha lemaisa. Even if it's used, right? Even if it's used b'shogeg, it sounds like you commit me'ilah. This is a kasha on Rabbi Meir. To which the Gemara says, you're right, Rabbi Meir ledvar Rabbi Huda kam. Rabbi Meir is ultimately saying this over in accordance with the position of Rabbi Huda. And he says as follows, Kamar ledidi im hotzi nami lomal. Rabbi Meir says, according to me, even if the chenveni went ahead and used the money, he hasn't committed me'ilah, because Rabbi Meir holds that any me'ilah, any use of consecrated funds done b'shogeg, doesn't deconsecrate the funds. Ela ledidach, but according to Rabbi Huda, at least admit to me that the chenveni has the status of the balabais. Lo kishulchani. And to which Rabbi Huda responded, he says, no, I disagree with you with that as well. The chenveni doesn't have the status of the balabais, rather a chenveni has the status of a money changer. Okay, good. Amar Rav. So Rav said as follows, Chazarnu, top of Nun Daled. Chazarnu, I'll call that Dodim Shrabi Meir. So we'll say, so listen to this. So Rav comes along and says like this. We've studied all the different positions of Rabbi, all the different aspects of Rabbi Meir's position. V'lomatzinu hektish b'shogeg ein mischalo k'meiz. Sorry, v'lomatzinu hektish b'shogeg ein mischalo b'meiz mischalo. And we have not been able to find a shita, right? We have not been able to find support for a position that says that hektish only becomes deconsecrated if used b'mezid, but not b'shogeg. So Rashi explains over here, rather when it comes to hektish, I will say what we generally find is when you use hektish, whether you use it b'shogeg or b'mezid, what happens? It's deconsecrated. It's me'ilah. I will say, now remember again, once you say something is me'ilah, then halacha l'maisa, by definition, the object becomes deconsecrated. So I will say, so Rav is coming along and essentially saying, Rabbi Meir, no idea where you got this distinction. Remember again, Rabbi Meir's position is, if you use hektish b'shogeg, it's not deconsecrated. You use it b'mezid, it is deconsecrated. Rav says, no idea where you got that distinction from. In general, what we see as the halacha is, if you use hektish, bein b'mezid, bein b'shogeg, ultimately again it's deconsecrated. So let's analyze. Umishna Seinu. Rabbi say this is absolutely incredible. Umishna Seinu. Bekasnos kuna shalabalu. Shabbos says, so what is our Mishnah talking about? When Rabbi Meir says that use of hektish b'shogeg doesn't create me'ilah, doesn't deconsecrate, but use b'mezid do, what is he referring to? He was referring to kohanic clothing that has not been worn out. Not been worn out. But say, take a look at Rashi for just a moment. Umas nisin diktani b'shogeg lo kidesh ama lo nischal. So the Mishnah that says that according to Rabbi Meir, that if you accidentally use hektish, it's not deconsecrated. What is that referring to? Rashi says, "Bekasnos kuna shelo balu v'reuyin la'avoda." They are kohanic clothing that is fit for use. The chazman sheruyin la'avoda ein me'ilah. Shabbos is incredible. Listen to this. Kohanic clothing might be the one consecrated item, the one item that is temple property, that is not subject to me'ilah. Now, why is kohanic clothing not subject to me'ilah? Rashi says, "Shelakach hukdeshu mitchilas lehanos ban shogigin rak shelo yiskavein lachalson shelo nitna tor lemalachi asharis shekarim zrizin kimalacham nafshid." Rabbi say, what's wrong with kohanic clothing? Ideally, if you're a kohen, you should only wear the clothing when you're doing the avoda, right? Now we'll say, but the truth is, imagine the following situation, right? By the Kohen, we're going to have third basement. The Kohen finishes doing the avoda. He doesn't undress like the second he finishes the avoda, which means that he's wearing the clothing even for a little while after the avoda is done. So I will say, so you can't call this me'ilah. In other words, otherwise every single Kohen is going to be in violation of me'ilah, right? Halacha l'maisa, every Kohen will be in violation of me'ilah. If halacha l'maisa, if halacha l'maisa, there is me'ilah by clothing. So we'll say, so I just want to point out how incredible this is. So first of all, just to show you an amazing tie-in. See, the Gemara is saying over here, that halacha l'maisa, we're referring to kohanic clothing that has not been worn out, right? Why? Because if what happens to kohanic clothing that's worn out? I will say, this is incredible. It's the fourth parak of Maseches Sukkah. They make wicks, right? The Mishnayos in Sukkah, in the fourth parak of Sukkah, discuss that during Simchas Beis HaShoeva, they would have these huge standing like lanterns, and they would make wicks out of the used kohanic clothing. I will say, isn't that incredible? So here on Shana Rabbah night, right? Ultimately, again, we're making reference again to the used kohanic clothing, to the new kohanic clothing. Absolutely incredible. What a tie-in to Shana Rabbah. So the Gemara says as follows. So therefore, I will say the case that we're referring to over here, the case we're referring to of Rabbi Meir's situation of using something b'shogeg and not being chayiv in mi'ilah, ultimately, again, that is referring to kohanic clothing that has not been worn out. So the Gemara says, Tashma, Lefish lo nitna Torah malachi asharis. Why? Because Torah wasn't given to angels. Torah wasn't given to malachi asharis. I will say, so like we just said before, because otherwise, every Kohen essentially commits mi'ilah because he doesn't take the clothing off the second that he finishes the avoda. Rather, halacha l'maisa, he does wear it for some amount of time. Now listen, I'll just mention this to you. We'll come back to it in just a second. So Tashma, here we go. Kasnos kuna shebalu. So kohanic clothing that's gotten worn out, molin bahem diremer, are subject to mi'ilah. So we'll say saloch l'maisa. In other words, once you go ahead and you wear out the clothing, then it is subject to mi'ilah. My la afilu lo balu. Doesn't it mean, the Gemara says, even if it's not worn out, lo balu dafka? No, the only time that it's subject to mi'ilah is actually interesting. So kohanic clothing, when it's fit for use, is not subject to mi'ilah. Why? Lefisha lo nitna Torah l'malachei asharis. Torah wasn't given to angels, wasn't given to malachim. So because of that halacha l'maisa, there has to be an allowance for a kohen to get some level of personal benefit from the big day kuna. Otherwise, he's going to be committing mi'ilah every single day. So where is there mi'ilah by kohanic clothing? Only by worn out kohanic clothing. By worn out kohanic clothing. So the Gemara says, Tashma. So we'll say, let's analyze this. So first of all, Tashma. So I'll just say on this phrase, there's so much to say and so little time. So I'll say, so it's interesting to note the concept of lo nitna Torah l'malachi asharis. Torah wasn't given to angels. I'll say very apropos, especially we're heading into Simchas Torah. We celebrate, right? The ability to receive the Torah, to live the Torah, to learn the Torah. So there's a beautiful idea. The pasuk says, "Va'anshe kodesh tiyuni ubasar basoda treifa lo suchelu." Pasuk says again, "Be holy people to me." Be holy people. Anshe kodesh yunli, basar basar treifa. It's referring to the fact you can't eat a treifa. What's a treifa? A treifa is an animal that is killed by another predatory animal. The Katzker says something amazing. What does the Chosh Baruch Hu say to us? Anshe kodesh tiyunli. The Katzker says, the Ribbon Shalom says to us, I have plenty of malachim. I don't need any more malachim. You know what I need? I need a few good men. I need anshe kodesh. I need holy men. Holy angels, I've got plenty of those. Holy men, that's what I'm looking for. I will say, isn't that incredible? See, I just want to point out, we often read this phrase of lo nitna Torah l'malachei hashares, often as a statement, like it's like a b'diavad. If only we could live up to the level of Malachi Hasharis, how much happier HaKadosh Baruch Hu would be. The Katzker says it's not true. Lo nitna Torah Malachi Hasharis is the greatest compliment in the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want me to be a malach. That's not what he wants. He wants me to be what? Anshe Kodesh. It's not an accommodation. It's a statement of our mission. Torah lo nitna l'malachi asharis. Incredible. All right, let's go back there. Tashma. Molin b'charatin ve'molin matikin. You could commit to mi'ilah ultimately again with new clothing. I'm sorry, this is now shkalim. Sorry, new topic. We'll say, so again, we keep on challenging Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Huda. Rabbi Meir right now. We're going to see the halacha l'mais in just a little bit. So, Tashma. Molin b'charatin. Then molin b'atikin. We'll say, so remember again, a little chazara. Remember again, we had tiklin, charatin. We had old shkalim, new shkalim, and old shkalim. What are new shkalim? New shkalim are the shkalim collected in this year's collection. Old shkalim is the case of what? I forgot to give my shekel last year, so now I'm going in and giving my shekel this year. So what's that? What does the Brisa say? You could commit mi'ilah with new shkalim, but you can't commit mi'ilah with old shkalim. Div Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir says, Molin af ba'atikin. Rabbi Meir says, not true, you could commit mi'ilah even with old shkalim. Shahir Rabbi Meir omer molin b'shiyare halishka. Because Rabbi Meir said again, any of the leftover shkalim ultimately again are subject to mi'ilah. Va'amai, why is that? Nema hoil v'nitnu lehanos. Why don't we say that since ultimately again you're allowed to get some benefit from the shkalim? Rabbi will say we're going to see again what benefit are you allowed to get from the shkalim. So interestingly enough, we're going to see that one of the things the shkalim were used for were the walls of Yerushalayim. I will say everyone gets benefit from the walls, either from the security of the walls, from the shade of the walls. So halacha l'maisa, there's benefits. So you see again. So here, let's finish up. V'amai neima hol v'nisnu lahanos lefishlo nitnatral malachei asharis daha chomas ha'ir umigdalosel mishiari halishka asu. Because I will say after all the halacha is that the walls of Yerushalayim, the towers of Yerushalayim, all come from the leftover shkalim. If that's the case, I will say it is impossible ultimately again not to get hana'ah from those things. Therefore we should say lo nitna Torah l'malachi asharis, and therefore there shouldn't be mi'ilah over here. So the Gemara says, good. So the Gemara says, I'm sorry, where did I just leave off? Good. This not here it is. Mishnah says the walls of Yerushalayim and all of its towers, and I will say for that matter all of the needs of the city, ultimately again come from the leftover coins from the Machzis HaShekel. So I will say, what do you see from here? So you see from here that Allah says, since it's impossible not to get benefits from the walls and the towers and the upkeep of the city, right? So therefore again, halacha l'maisa, therefore again, you shouldn't get any, there shouldn't be me'ilah, ultimately again with new shkalim. To which the Gemara says, Lo tem Rabbi Meir el im Rabbi Yehuda. Don't say it reflects the view of Rabbi Meir, rather say it reflects the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Tashma desanya, Rabbi Shmuel. So we'll say, so again, Lo tem Rabbi Meir el Rabbi Yehuda. So okay, enachinami, this is correct, but it doesn't reflect the view of Rabbi Meir, rather it reflects the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Fine. Tashma desanya, am Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yitzchak, avnei Yerushalayim shenishru. We'll say interesting case. If you have stones that fell out of the wall of the city of Yerushalayim, ultimately, again, it is subject to me'ilah. Div Rabbi Meir. So we'll say, so again, once again, this would seem to be a case of shogeg, and yet halacha l'maisa, again, Rabbi Meir is saying is subject to me'ilah. Lo teim Rabbi Meir ela im Rabbi Yehuda. So we'll say the Gemara keeps answering it the same way. Every single time, essentially, we find something that contradicts Rabbi Meir. What's the Gemara's answer? Just it's Rabbi Yehuda. It's Rabbi Yehuda. All right, Rabbi Yehuda. So we'll listen to this. Now this is incredible. We'll say if it's Rabbi Yehuda, Yerushalayim mekadsha, then ultimately again, does Yerushalayim have the status of hekdish? Or we'll say, now this is a wild Gemara. Listen to this. Vatana, we learned. We'll say, let's say a person wants to consecrate an object. So what does he do? He takes an object. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. We'll say, so listen to this. So we'll say, let's say a person wants to remember. We know this from our Nadarim days, right? How do you consecrate something? You go ahead and compare it to something that is consecrated. It should be like this. So watch this case. Ki'imra. Let's say a person says Ki'imra. Ultimately, again, this loaf should be like a sheep. Now, both said, the assumption over here is what sheep is he referring to? The sheep of the carbon tamid. Kidirim. Or it should be, again, about say deer. Deer is a chamber. Remember, again, there were two chambers in the Beis HaMikdash. The deer eitzim, right? That's where they kept the wood for the Mizbeach. And ultimately, again, the deer where they kept sacrificial animals. So he says this loaf of bread should be like the deer, should be like the pen, the sacrificial pen, right? Or ke'eitzim, like wood. The Pashto, what kind of wood? Like the wood, ultimately, again, used on the Mizbeach. Ki'ishim, like the fires, like the fires of the Mizbeach. Kehechol, like the hechol. Kimizbeach, like the Mizbeach. Kirushalayim. So I'll say, I'm taking a loaf of bread, and essentially I'm saying, the loaf of bread should be like these items. So what's the status of the bread? Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Kala Omer Yerushalayim Lo Omer Klum. Wow. I'll say, first of all, that whole statement doesn't even seem like a correct thing to say, for a Jew to say. Kala Omer Yerushalayim Lo Omer Klum. If you said Yerushalayim, ultimately, again, it's like you didn't say anything. Now, both say, so let's analyze this. What Rabbi Huda is saying is that Yerushalayim is not consecrated. Yerushalayim doesn't have the status of a hekdesh item. So because it doesn't have the status of a hekdesh item, therefore, again, if you say this loaf of bread is Yerushalayim, you have not said anything. Maybe it's because you can't say Yerushalayim. Rather, what do you have to say? Kikar zu, ki Yerushalayim. If you just say Kikar zu Yerushalayim, ultimately, again, what does it mean? The bread is Yerushalayim. What the bread identifies as Yerushalayim. So suddenly, again, it's Yerushalayim, right? It doesn't actually work in the real world, right? So let's say so Lamaisa again. So Lamaisa, maybe it's that he didn't say ki Yerushalayim. To which the Gemara says, "Vatayim." We learn Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Kol Omer ki Yerushalayim, lo Omer Klum. Ad sheyidar bedavar hakari b'Yerushalayim. So ultimately, both say. So Rabbi Yehuda holds no. It's not Yerushalayim versus Ki Yerushalayim. It's just Yerushalayim itself. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Yerushalayim itself is not hekdesh. Both say, to be clear, Yerushalayim is kodesh. Yerushalayim is not hekdesh. And therefore, again, if you say this loaf of bread should be like Yerushalayim, that statement is totally meaningless. Now, again, just to kind of close the circle over here. Therefore, again, if that's the case, then that means the walls of Yerushalayim are not kodesh either. If the walls of Yerushalayim are not kodesh, then what Rabbi say? Then if a stone falls out and you use it, what's the penalty? What's the penalty? None. So what's going on over here? Rabbi say, Amud Beis, Trei Tanoi Va'ali Rabbi Yehuda. And we have to say, it's a machlokes. So this is great. We have a machlokes, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, right, about how the deconsecration of hekdesh works. And now, in Shitas Rabbi Yehuda itself, there's another machlokes. Look at Rashi, top Rashi Nundam is 54b. So the Gemara says, "Ikol mandam Yerushalayim mekadsha kehekdesh shemito ma'amnei hachoma livnos bebesom mal v'ikol mandam lo mekadsha." Rabbi says, "There's machlokes about what Rabbi Yehuda holds in terms of Yerushalayim. Does Yerushalayim have a sanctified status like hekdesh?" So we'll say, what's the nafkamina? Like you'll be, I'm walking out of Yerushalayim. There's a stone on the ground, it fell out of the wall. I say Givaldik. I will say, how incredible would it be? You remember again, those are the chevra that were on Yarchei Kala. Where was the where he bought the sheep? Arugat Farms. So if you remember again, the shul they built there, they brought stones from Yerushalayim. Right? So can you imagine you're walking out of Yerushalayim, you see a stone that falls from the wall. You say, Givaldik, I'm going to build it into my house. So am I allowed to do that or not? So that's a machlokes in Rabbi Yehuda. There's an opinion that, so again, what's the machlokes based on? Does Yerushalayim have the status of hekdesh or not? That's the fundamental machlokes, and that's the machlokes in Rabbi Yehuda as well. I'll just share with you, I saw something truly beautiful brought down in the name of the Majid Rebbe. So Rabbi say that phrase of Kol ha'omer Yerushalayim lo amar klum. Both say, what does that mean? If you say Yerushalayim, it's like you haven't said anything. So listen to what the Majid Rebbe says. The Rebbe says, V'yesh l'ramez ha'ikar lasok bebinyan Yerushalayim bepolu b'maisa. The Rebbe say, for a Jew, it is not enough to talk about Yerushalayim, but you have to do something to build Yerushalayim. It's not enough to talk about it, right? If you just talk about how beautiful Yerushalayim is, that's very nice, that's beautiful. What's the job of a Jew? You can't just talk about Yerushalayim, you have to somehow do your part in building Yerushalayim. But say, is that not absolutely incredible? The obligation to build Yerushalayim is not just a din, it's not just an obligation that devolves upon the Jews of Eretz Yisrael. Even we Jews in Chutz La'aretz, we have an obligation to try to figure out some way that we could do our part in building Yerushalayim. Because if all I do throughout my whole life is just give lip service, I love Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim is beautiful, it's wonderful, but I don't roll up my sleeves and somehow do something to build it, there's something lacking still in my Yiddishkeit. Absolutely incredible. Majid Rebbe. So we'll say, let's go weiter. Amar Ula Mishvei Debar Pada. Omer Hay Rabbi Meir. So Meir said as follows: Hektish b'mezid mischalel b'shogeg ein mischalel. So also Rabbi Meir said that Allah Chalamayis, if you use hektish and you go and use hektish b'mezid, it's deconsecrated. B'shogeg is not deconsecrated. V'lo amru b'shogeg mischalel ela le'inyan karban bilvad. I both said the only ramification. However, even if you use hektish b'shogeg, although again you haven't committed mi'ilah, you have incurred sacrificial liability and obligation. The Gemara says it doesn't make sense. I don't understand. I will say mi'ilah, I would say karban is what you bring for what? For having committed mi'ilah. And therefore, again, we'll say logic would dictate, if there's no me'ilah, then what? There's no carbon. So how can you, so we'll say, what the Gemara just said? The Gemara just said, if you went ahead and you used hektish b'shogeg, it's not me'ilah, but you chayv a carbon. How does that make any sense? Ella, kiyas rabin parush mishmei devar pada. Omer hayir Rameir said as follows: hektish b'mezin mischalel b'shogeg a mischalel. Rameir actually said, if you purposely use hektish, ultimately again it is deconsecrated. B'shogeg, it's not deconsecrated. V'lo amru b'shogeg mischalel ella le'inyan achila bilvad. So I'll say, interestingly enough, so this is very, very interesting. Rameir says like this: intentional use of hektish deconsecrates the hektish, is mi'ilah, and makes you liable for a carbon. Accidental use of hektish does not deconsecrate the hektish, and therefore no liability for carbon. The only time, ultimately again, that there is liability, ultimately again, for shogeg use of hektish is when you eat the hektish. If you were to consume the hektish. Now we'll say, what's the logic? Take a look at Rashi, the inyan achila. Ha'ochel kikar shel hektish, the ozole hektish. We'll say, because again, the problem is once you eat it, then what? It's gone. So obviously, once it's gone, there has to be liability that comes along with that. So I'll say a very interesting distinction here. So in a reframing of Rabbi Meir's position, Rabbi Meir essentially is saying like this: if you purposely use hektish, you are chayiv a carbon, it's me'ilah, and you've deconsecrated the item. Accidentally use hektish, you have not deconsecrated it, it's not me'ilah. The only exception to that rule is consumption. If you consume hektish, even accidentally, even b'shogeg, halacha l'maaseh, there is liability for that as well. Incredible. So Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Ada Bar Abba, we'll say here it is. Halacha k'Rabbi Meir b'maiser, hoyel v'stam lan tana kavaseh. Halacha k'Rabbi Yehuda b'hektish, hoyel v'stam lan tana kavaseh. So we'll say Rav Nachman came along and said, the halacha is like Rabbi Meir when it comes to Meiser Sheni, because we have a stam mishnah that supports him, and the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda by hektish, since he has a stam mishnah to support him as well. So we'll say, before I show you the proofs, let me just show you the halacha l'maisa. So we'll say, so now this is the Gemara is reaching a conclusion. We're going to prove the conclusion in just a moment, but we paskin like Rabbi Meir and we paskin like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir ultimately again by Meiser Sheni, Rabbi Yehuda by hektish. So let's listen to this. So the Rambam in Hilchos Meiser Sheni, Perek Gimel Halacha Yizayin says as follows. Here it is. Remember, we'll say, what does Rabbi Meir hold by Meiser Sheni? Remember again, what did Rabbi Meir hold by Meiser Sheni? Rabbi Meir held that Meiser Sheni is Mamon Gavoa. It belongs to Hashem. Even though what? Who's eating Meiser Sheni? Me, the owner. I'm eating it, but nevertheless, it is not my property. That's what Rabbi Meir said. Can you be Mekadesh, a woman with Meiser Sheni? Can you be Mekadesh with Meiser Sheni? No. Why? Because halacha l'maisa, it's not yours. It belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can only be mekadesh something that belongs to you. So I'll say that's how he paskin. Rambam says, Meiser Sheni mamon gavohu. Meiser Sheni belongs to the Ribono Shalom. Shneimar la'Hashemhu. That was the drush we had in yesterday's daf. Lefichach Einor niklim b'matana in mekachin b'aseish. So I'll say that is halacha l'maisa piece number one. Reb Tzvi, tremendous yesher koach. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Incredible. All right. So I'll say, so listen to this. So we'll say, so we pass like Rabbi Meir. Therefore, again, Meiser Sheni is Mamon Gavoa. Meiser Sheni is considered to be consecrated, belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, cannot use it for Kiddushin. And we'll say, what does it mean pass like Rabbi Yehuda? We'll say pass like Rabbi Yehuda by hektish. What did Rabbi Yehuda say by hektish? Here we go. Hamoil b'kadshe bedek habayis, kevan shema b'shkaga, nischala la hektish, v'zeh shnachra pater. Ma'al b'zadon, so we pass like Rabbi Yehuda, namely, if you intentionally commit an act of if you unintentionally commit an act of me'ilah b'shogeg deconsecrates the item. Me'ilah b'mezid does not deconsecrate the item. I both say, now why is that? So the Rambam explains this more explicitly. When you use hektish b'shogeg, that incurs carbonic liability. So obviously, if there's carbonic liability, that means that what? The item is no longer kodesh. I will say there is no such thing as a carbon for me'ilah b'mezid. So because there's no carbon, therefore by definition, what does that tell you? That there's no deconsecration. So I will say pasuk Rabbi Yehuda, therefore accidental use of hektish will deconsecrate it. And of course, again, it's an act of me'ilah with carbonic liability. Intentional use of hektish, no carbonic liability. And ultimately, again, it does not deconsecrate the item. So we'll say, so therefore that's our Piskei Halacha, Pasuk Rabbi Meir, and like Rabbi Yehuda. So now let's bring the proofs. So the Gemara says as follows. So the Gemara says, Ki Rabbi Meir b'Maiser Maihi. From where do we say the Pasuk Rabbi Meir that Maiser is Mamon Gavoa? Maiser Sheni belongs to Hashem, and therefore even though I get to consume it, it's not my property. So the Gemara says, Disnan Karem Revai. Now we'll say, what's Karem Revai? Remember again, after you go ahead and you plant a vineyard, first 3 years you can't eat it. Why not? Why not? Arla. Fourth year it's called Karem Revai. What do you do with Karem Revai? You're allowed to eat it. But what? You have to eat it in Yerushalayim. It's like Meiser Sheni. So Karem Revai, Beis Shammai Omrim Ein Lo Chomesh Ve'Ein Lo Bir. Beis Shammai says, if you redeem it, there's no additional fifth, nor is there a beer obligation. We'll say beer means that twice during the Shemitah cycle, you have to make sure that you've given out all of your tithes. So Karem Revai is not subject to an additional fifth if you redeem it, nor is there beer. Beis Hillel says, Yeshlo. Beis Hillel says, yes, it has Chomesh and it has Revai. Beis Shammai Omrim Yeshlo Parat V'Yesh Olos. Beis Shammai says Karem Revai is subject to also Parat Olos. Both say Parat and Ololos means it's like Leket and Shechacha, right? If you go ahead and you drop grapes or you leave behind clusters, you can't go back to the vine and take it. Beis Hillel Omrim Kulo Lagat. Beis Hillel says no, you could go ahead, all of Karem Revai could go to the wine press. In other words, you don't have to leave anything behind. So my time to Beis Hillel, both say what's Beis Hillel's logic? Gamri Kodesh Kodesh b'Maiser. They learn Gzera Shav of Kodesh from Karem Revai to Meiser Sheni. Or I should say, from Meiser Sheni to Karem Revai. Ma Meiser Yesh Lo Chomesh. Both say just like when you redeem Meiser Sheni, ultimately again is an additional fifth. V'Yesh Lo Bir, and again there's a din of beer, which means you have to get rid of it at a certain point in time during the agricultural cycle. Af Karem Revai Yesh Lo Chomesh V'Yesh Lo Bir. So to Karem Revai also will say subject to the halach of Chomesh as well as beer. Beis Shammai lo gamri kodesh v'maiser. Beis Shammai ultimately again do not subscribe to that gezerah shava. Beis Hillel say kimaiser kiman sfila. Both saying Beis Hillel who say that Karem Revai has the same status ultimately as maiser. Who do they hold like? Ik Rabbi Yehuda amai kulo legat. Say like Rabbi Yehuda, how could they say that the entire Karem Revai could go to the wine press? Ha'amar maiser mamon hedyotu. Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that Meiser Sheni, Rabbi say, is my property. If that's the case, then it should be chayiv ultimately again in tithing itself. Elalav Rabbi Meir. Rather, it must ultimately support Rabbi Meir. So therefore, Rabbi say this brisa is a proof to Rabbi Meir. Remember again, essentially to kind of condense the proof. What's the proof? Essentially, what we say is like this: Karem Revai has the same status as Meiser Sheni. Namely, again, just like Meiser Sheni, ultimately again, there is no chomesh, there is no beer, but ultimately again, subject to parat, and not subject to parat and ololos. So we'll say why? Because ultimately it's mamon gavoa. Remember, the only time an item is subject to tithing obligations is when it's mine. If it's not mine, then essentially it's tax exempt. So therefore, again, the fact that Karem Revai is exempt from all of these things, why? It's not mine. How do we know it's not mine? It's Gzera Shava to Meiser Sheni. Just like Meiser Sheni is Mamon Gavoa, so to Karem Revai is Mamon Gavoa. But say, who is the opinion who holds that Meiser Sheni is Mamon Gavoa? Who is that? That's Rabbi Meir. So this is the proof, the explicit proof, like Rabbi Meir. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda behektish. So we'll say, what's the proof? So we'll say, so now we've espoused the halacha and proven it. We paskin when it comes to Meiser Sheni, like Rabbi Meir, namely Meiser Sheni is Mamon Gavoa. It belongs to the Ribono Shel Olam. It's not mine, and therefore, again, since we're Masechus Kiddushin, for our purpose is what? You cannot go ahead and use it to affect Kiddushin. Incredible. So we'll say, let's go weiter. Rabbi Yehuda behektish mahi. What's the case of Rabbi Yehuda? I'm sorry, just give me a second. You know what it says? Rabbi Yehuda behektish mahi. So we'll say, so now remember, what else did we say? We said that the halacha follows Rabbi Yehuda by hektish. Remember again, what does Rabbi Yehuda hold by hektish? If you use hektish b'shogeg, that is mi'ilah, chayiv karban, deconsecrated the item. If you use hektish b'mezid, no mi'ilah, no karban, and therefore the item remains unconsecrated. We'll say, I know it sounds counterintuitive, right? It sounds counterintuitive. I'm sorry? There's no carbonic obligation, right? There's an onesh, whatever the onesh is, klapi shmaya. I know it sounds counterintuitive, right? Because normally we think if you use something bemezid, the penalty is worse. Now the penalty is worse. Remember again, the inability to bring a carbon in and of itself is a higher form of penalty. Remember again, a carbon is kapara. So what we're saying over here is if a guy purposely uses hekdesh, he does not have the carbonic avenue of kapara. That's what's happening over here. So again, but the result of that is because there's no quote unquote me'ila liability, therefore the item remains consecrated. He doesn't deconsecrate it through his intentional use. So let's analyze this. Rabbi Yehuda b'hekdesh mai. What's Rabbi Yehuda in this case? Here we go. This nan shilach biat pikeach v'nisk. So let's listen to this. Listen to this. Rashi says over here. Shilach biad b'yer Rashi says reish hachi tanan shilach biad chere shot of a cotton also shlichusan gizbar mouse. What we're talking about over here, the temple treasurer sent hektish money. He sent hektish money to be used in some type of transaction. So watch this. If he sent it in the hands of a pikeach, what's a pikeach? A pikeach is a regular, competent individual. The niskar actually gates al-chenveni, and the gizbar himself remembered, right? The gizbar himself remembered, ultimately again, before the money reached the hand of the chenveni, the shopkeeper. And I will say now the chenveni takes it, the chenveni uses it, right? The chenveni receives it, and then the chenveni ultimately again goes ahead and uses that money. Chenveni ma'al cheshiyotzi. The chenveni commits mi'ila, because remember again, the way mi'ila is one of these interesting things that mi'ila only works b'shogeg. Since the gizbar realized that he gave hekdish money, he's cognizant of it. When the chenveni later uses the money, the gizbar is not liable because he remembers that it's hekdish. The chenveni is the one who is liable because he is using consecrated funds b'shogeg. Fine. Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda b'meiser. So we'll say. So the point over here is that. So you see from here that halacha l'maisa meiser sheni is going to be. So you see that meiser sheni is going to be mamon hedyon. Rabbi Yehuda meiser milotnan. So we'll say, I'm sorry, that's hektish. So you see from here that halacha l'maisa is only accidental use of hektish that deconsecrates it and creates me'ila, right? Because remember again, because the gizbar remembers, therefore there's no liability by the gizbar. Who has liability? Only the chenveni. Why? Because the chenveni used the hektish money b'shogeg. Okay, good. I'll say 1 second. Do we not find the proof to Rabbi Yehuda by Meiser Sheni? I don't remember. What does Rabbi Yehuda hold by Meiser Sheni? Rabbi Yehuda holds that Meiser Sheni is mamon hedyo. And Meiser Sheni belongs to you. It's your money. So don't we ever prove that Rabbi Yehuda like this also? Milotan, didn't we learn? Let's listen to this. Vatnan, hapod de Meiser Sheni shalom. If you redeem your own Meiser Sheni, what's the case of Meiser Sheni redemption? What's the case? Halavai, Mashiach's going to come. We're going to go back, become farmers. No one ever has one of those days where you wish you were a farmer. I actually have a moment like that, multiple, every single day, right? I really just wish I was a farmer. Right? So Lamaisa, so we'll say, so now you're a farmer. Baruch Hashem, you have a wonderful crop, and now you have to take all of your Meiser Sheni to Yerushalayim. That's a lot of Meiser Sheni. So what are you going to do? You're going to redeem the Meiser Sheni onto money, and then transport the money to Yerushalayim to be used in Yerushalayim. So now watch this. The Gemara says, "Vatana po de Meiser Sheni shalo." If you redeem your own Meiser Sheni, Mosif alav chamishaso. Ultimately, you add on an additional fifth. Bein mishalo, bein shenitein lo b'matana. Whether ultimately again it's your Meiser Sheni or you were gifted Meiser Sheni. Now watch this. So now 1 second. Gifted Meiser Sheni, and now I want to redeem it. Ultimately I pay an additional fifth. What does that tell me? That tells you that gifted Meiser Sheni becomes mine. What does that tell you ultimately again if gifted Meiser Sheni becomes yours? What's the status of Meiser Sheni? What's the status? Mamon Hedyot. Clearly again, then it's my money, it's mundane money, not Mamon Hekdish money. So whose opinion is this? Ilay Rabbi Meir, so mi Matziyavla. If it's Rabbi Meir, so remember, Rabbi Meir holds that Meiser Sheni is Mamon Hekdish, right? Rabbi Meir holds that ultimately again, it's Shulchan Gavoah. So how can you give it matana? Va'aha Amar, Meiser Mamon Gavoahu. Rabbi Meir holds that Meiser Sheni is Mamon Gavoah. If it's Mamon Gavoah, I'll say then what? I have no right to gift that to anyone else. Ella lav Rabbi Yehuda. Rather, it must be Rabbi Yehuda. So we'll say, what do you see from here? You see from here an explicit proof that Rabbi Yehuda holds to Rabbi Yehuda's position, namely that Meiser Sheni is Mamon Hadyot. The fact that you could gift Meiser Sheni to someone, and when that person receives the gift and he redeems it, he has to add on an additional fifth. That means that Meiser Sheni becomes his. That's a proof to say that Meiser Sheni is Mamon Hadyot. So the Gemara says, "Lo the Olin Rabbi Meir." No, in reality, that case is Rabbi Meir as well. V'hacham asking on what's the case. So we'll say this is fascinating. Kigon diyohev nihile betivle. I will say this is actually interesting. I didn't get a gift of Meiser Sheni. Rather, what did I get? I got a gift of Tevel. So somebody gifted me untithed produce. So Rabbi says, so now, can you receive untithed produce as a gift? Sure, because what's status of untithed produce? Mamon Hedyo, right? So now that I received Tevel as a gift, when I separate out Meiser Sheni from that and I redeem that Meiser Sheni, I have to add on an additional fifth to that. The Kasavar, Matano Shelo Hurmu, Kimi Shelo Hurmu down. I will say, and he holds, and it's actually interesting, this is another machlokes. I will say, when you look at Tevel, how do you view Tevel? When you look at Tevel, do you see Tevel as its produce, and in there is Meiser Sheni and Meiser Ani, or depending on the year, right? Or Truma, or Meiser, or no, ultimately, again, you just go ahead and all you see is untithed produce. So we'll say, what the Gemara is suggesting is, this case is Rabbi Meir, and therefore Rabbi Meir holds that ultimately, again, so Meiser is Mamon Gavoa, right? It's Mamon Gavoa. So what's the case over here? The case over here is someone is gifting me Tevel. And what Rabbi Meir is coming to the Mechadesh is, when you get Tevel produce, we don't view that as produce that has tithes in it. Rather, we just simply view it, ultimately again, as Tevel. And therefore, again, you acquire the Tevel, it becomes yours. When you subsequently go ahead and separate out Meiser Sheni, that's your Meiser Sheni, and therefore, if you redeem it, you add on the additional fifth. So we'll say one more case. Tashma, hapod de natarevai shelo. If a person redeems his natarevai, so we said natarevai before. What's natarevai? Fourth year vineyard, right? Fourth year vineyard, which again is yours to eat, yours to enjoy. You just have to take it to Yerushalayim, treat it essentially like Meiser Sheni. So what's the halacha? Hapod de natarevai shelo. If a person redeems his own natarevai, mosif alav chamishaso, he has to add an additional fifth. Bein mishalo, bein shenita labo matana, whether it's his or he was gifted it. Ooh, Rabbi say, what did we just say before? Where is Kerem Ravai? Where is Kerem Ravai or Nata Ravai? Where is Nata Ravai learned out from? Where's it learned out from? From Gzer Shava to Meiser Sheni. So now what you're saying is Nata Ravai essentially sounds like his Mamon Hedyot. Mamon Hedyot, that's the position of Rabbi Yehuda. So money, whose opinion is this? Either Rabbi Meir, if it's Rabbi Meir, mi matzi yoivle. So we'll say ultimately, according to Rabbi Meir, do you have a right to gift not to Ravai again? That should have the status of Mamon Gavoa. V'ha Gemiri, Kodesh Meiser. He learns that Gzer Shava, Kodesh Meiser Sheni. Just like Meiser Sheni is Mamon Gavoa, so too not to Ravai is Mamon Gavoa. Ela Lav Rabbi Yehuda. Rather, it must be Rabbi Yehuda. So we'll say, so again, once again, the Gemara is bringing this up as this seems to be a proof to the position of Rabbi Yehuda. Namely, that Halacha L'Maisa, Meiser Sheni is Mamon Hedyot. To which the Gemara says, "Lo, the Olam Rabbi Meir." In reality, it's Rabbi Meir. Ultimately, and what's the case over here? Kegon di yoiv kishu smadar. We'll say, what's the case? The case is where you gave the grapes. We'll say while they were still in their smadar is the stage of where, like, I don't know what the technical agricultural term is, like budding. It's after like the bud falls off, and ultimately again the fruit is there. Now, the fruit is blossoming. Yeah. After the blossoms fell off. Okay, good. Right, so the blossom is no longer there. The fruit is there, but here's what's important. The fruit is underdeveloped. That's the chap. So in other words, you wouldn't eat fruit like that. So on one hand, it's reached a certain stage of maturation, but not fully developed. Watch this. Let's say just, if you watch this, is this not Olam Haba? Right now, is this not like the best thing in the world? The weather feels like it cooled off outside, right? A little bit. Right? The weather, I mean, thank you all for blocking any air that would come into the sukkah. That's fine. Why don't you stand up? Just stand up. You know? So I say, no, is this not, look what we're doing. We're learning the Ribbon Shalom's Torah in a beautiful sukkah on a magnificent night on Leil Hoshana Rabbah. Rabbi Tzvi gave us mamish like Seudas Shlomo HaMelech B'Shaito. However, what else? What else? The only better thing, I'm sorry? If we are farmers, right? If we are farmers in Yerushalayim, then okay. So let's finish off. The Gemara says, isn't this Rabbi Yehuda? To which the Gemara says, I love Rabbi Yehuda. The Olam Rabbi Meir. No, it's Rabbi Meir. I'm asking, what's the case here? So Rabbi said, the person gifted me the Nata Ravai when? ultimately, again, when it was smadar. So again, it's still in its undeveloped state. Rashi says, Kishu smadar, look at Rashi, we'll say first wide line, Kishu smadar, Rashi says, Kishanovim nikarim la'achar chomesh benata ravai, I'm sorry, la'achar shenafal ha'perach, v'kamash malon decholzman shu smadar, yachol l'sitim b'matana. So we'll say that's the chap. In other words, when the fruit is still in the smadar stage, ultimately, it does not assume the identity of Nata Ravai. Nata Ravai, the Nata Ravai identity apparently only sets in when the fruit reaches a more advanced stage of maturation. But in the smadar state, it's not yet Nata Ravai, and because it's not yet Nata Ravai, it could be gifted. And because it could be gifted, again, that's why Allah Lamaisa, it's Mamon, so to speak, it's Mamon Hedyo. It's Mamon Hedyo because it's not yet Nata Ravai. Incredible. So the Gemara says, Damar Smadar Asr Mipnei Shupri. And we'll say it doesn't affect the Rabbi Yossi, because Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion that Smadar already has the status of a full-fledged pri. Apparently, Rabbi Meir does not hold that. Rabbi Meir holds Smadar is still undeveloped. So we'll say, here's what we emerge with. Lesson I want to say that we emerge with. If you just talk about how nice Yerushalayim is, you haven't done anything. A Yid has an obligation to somehow further the actual creation of Yerushalayim. However one figures out the way to do that. A Yid has to have an active role in the development of Yerushalayim. That's number one. Number two, we pass the Rabbi Meir. When it comes to Meiser Sheni is Mama Gava. Right, good. I wasn't sure what I was like. Good. Mama Gava, right? Meiser Sheni ultimately again is essentially belongs to the Ribbon Shalom, which means for our purposes, what can't you use it for? Anything, especially Kiddushin, right? Because remember, how do we get into this whole thing? We got into this whole thing that Ruvain wants to make Kadesh Rachel with Meiser Sheni. Does it work or not? Machlokes Rabbi Yehuda. We pass like Rabbi Meir. Meiser Sheni is Mama Gava. Or both say when it comes to Hekdish, we paskin ultimately again like Rabbi Yehuda. And what's like Rabbi Yehuda? When do you commit Me'ilah, thereby deconsecrating something? Only b'shogeg. Only accidental use of consecrated property deconsecrates it, thereby generating carbonic me'ilah liability. Intentional use of consecrated property, although sinful, highly sinful, does not create me'ilah, and doesn't create carbonic liability. I will say, we should just be zocha, Mir Hashem. We should just be zocha. That in the Schus Baruch Shalom say it's rare, right? This is a special day. You know, we come into Hoshana Rabbah armed with 2 blat Gemara, right? I think the Lublina Rav is looking down. Lublina Rav says, "Nitzchuni banai." My children have really succeeded over me. Lublina Rav says, I had in mind for them to learn only 1 blat of Gemara a day, and my children in Baltimore, they learned 2 blat of Gemara in 1 day. And I will say this should set the tone for our Yiddishkeit. I will say again, this should set the tone. Chaver, listen carefully. What does a day like this teach us? A day like doing 2 blot in 1 day, the message is, don't just live up to expectations. Exceed expectations. Let's make it a year ultimately again where I don't just check the box of obligations. I don't just do what I have to do. I do what I have to do and then some. I learn what I have to learn and then some. I do the chesed I have to do and then some. I give the tzedakah I have to give and then some. Everything we do, I say we should bring this same level of islavas to it. Not just to live expectations, but like we did here on Hoshana Rabbah, Tafshin Pei Dalid, we exceeded expectations. And it should be a Yemir Hashem. We should be zocheh to exceed expectations in our ruchnias each and every day. And in that schus may HaKadosh Baruch Hu inscribe us together with our families, together with all of Klal Yisrael, for a chasima tova, a good kvidul, a piska tova, and halavai we should be zocheh Yemir Hashem, l'shana haba b'Yerushalayim habanuyah. Well, okay, Chavro, so we're going to take a Chassidus Shir starts in 2 minutes. Just clear off your garbage. Right? We're going to come out. Oh, Chavro, if anyone wants a Ma'ariv minyan, there's going to be Ma'ariv after Chassidus. If anyone wants Ma'ariv now, no, just do it right over here. Just do it right outside. Okay.